I don't want your money. The words hit the hot Lagos air like a slap. People froze on the walkway. A black Rolls-Royce sat at the curb, its door still open. A tall, well-dressed man, billionaire CEO, Jerry Uche of Gentech, held crisp Naira notes in his hand. In front of him stood a young homeless beggar in a tattered ash t-shirt and dirty jeans, his overgrown beard rough, his hair unkempt, his ribs showing through the cloth. The beggar folded his hands, lifted his chin, and looked straight into Jerry's eyes. "Take it," Jerry said softly. "Eat today." "I said no," the beggar answered. "I know you. You are Jerry Uche of Gentech. I don't want your money." A small crowd drew closer, 6 passers-by, 4 women and 2 men staring in shock. Phones came out. Someone whispered, "Is he mad?" One woman shook her head and said, "It's like poverty has blocked his senses. Who rejects a billionaire's money and still stands here begging from poor people like us?" Honks shouted from the traffic, hot and impatient. A hawker ran past with chilled bottled water. The sky was bright and hard, and the sun laid a sharp light on everything. Jerry's face did not change. Calm, curious, kind. "Why?" he asked. "Have I wronged you before, unknowingly?" The beggar swallowed. His voice shook, but his eyes stayed steady. "My name is Nelson," he said. "I don't want your money. I want a chance. I want to work in your company. Help me, Jerry. Take me out of this street. I am tired of standing here and begging every day. Help me. Let me work for you." Gasps burst from the crowd. Someone laughed in disbelief. Another person hissed, "Look at him. He thinks life is a movie." But Jerry didn't laugh. He didn't hiss. He looked at Nelson the way a builder studies a broken wall, searching for a place to start. The money in his hand hung in the air for a second, then he lowered it. "What can you do?" Jerry asked. Nelson's lips trembled. He opened his mouth, then closed it. Fear tried to choke his words, but he pushed through. "I studied software engineering," he said in a rush. "A 2-year course. I was halfway when—" His voice cracked. He cleared his throat. "When my parents were kidnapped one night. They never came back. I tried to be strong, but my mind broke. I dropped out. I lost myself. I lost everything. But I am 25 now. I want to fight for my life. Please." For one heartbeat, the noisy road felt quiet. Jerry looked at the young man's dirty hands, the cut scars on his knuckles, the hollow cheeks, the eyes that still held a small fire. He thought of the tools he had built at Gentech education apps used in schools across Nigeria and beyond, and the powerful tracking system that helped security agencies follow criminals using call stamps and message stamps. Those tools had changed lives. Could one more decision change this one? Without a second thought, Jerry said, "Get in the car." The crowd exploded again, this time with shouts and disbelief. The 4 women covered their mouths. One of the men tried to film closer. But Jerry's driver gently held the door, and Nelson, still shaking, slid into the cool leather seat of the Rolls-Royce. Jerry stepped in after him, and the door sealed the hot noise outside with a soft, heavy click. The day had started ordinary for Jerry. He had left a meeting in Victoria Island and decided to take the long route through Lekki, just to feel the city. Jerry loved Lagos, its speed, its noise, its heat, its hope. Gentech was growing fast. Schools were signing up for his learning app by the hour. Police units were paying for the call mark and stamp track tools that helped them chase bad people who thought phones could hide them. Jerry liked to sit in traffic sometimes and watch people's faces. It reminded him why he built things. As the Rolls-Royce crawled along the walkway near a busy junction, he noticed the beggar at once. Not because of the dirt, not because of the smell of old sweat and rain-soaked cloth. He noticed the eyes tired but alert, like someone waiting for a small open door. Jerry told the driver to pull over. He stepped out with a few notes. It was a simple habit. Quick help. Bread for the day. Water for the heat. Then it happened the "I know you." The sharp, honest request. "Give me a job, not a handout." Back to the present, inside the car, Nelson's chest rose and fell too fast. The car smelled of clean leather and a faint cologne. The city's noise turned into a soft hum behind the glass. He kept glancing at Jerry, like he still didn't believe this was real. The world outside had called Jerry many names. Popular, powerful, richest under 40, builder of tools that made life easier. man with a golden brain. But right now, Jerry looked like something else. He looked like a quiet teacher waiting for an answer. Tell me what you can do, Jerry said again, gentle but firm. Nelson took a breath. I know Python and Java, he said. Not perfect, but I can learn fast. I used to build small phone apps in school. I like solving bugs. I like making slow things run faster. He stopped and wiped his eyes with the back of his hand, almost embarrassed. I just need a place to fight again. Jerry nodded. His mind started to click like a clean engine. Training paths, intern tracks, mentors who cared. He could see a ladder. He could see a road. Okay, Jerry said. We start small, but we start today. Nelson stared at him. Today? Today, Jerry said. First, we clean you up. The car turned off the highway and slid into a quiet street. 5 minutes later, the Rolls-Royce stopped beside a barber shop with a simple sign and a bright glass door. The driver opened the door, and cool air welcomed them in. The barber looked up, froze, and then smiled too wide. Ogre Jerry. Good afternoon, sir. Jerry smiled back. Good afternoon. We need your best cut today. Nelson sat in the chair. The barber placed a clean cape around his shoulders. Clippers hummed to life. Hair fell like black rain. The mirror in front showed a face changing with every past cheeks appearing, jawline clearing, eyes growing larger, stronger. Nelson watched quietly, almost afraid to blink, as the rough shell of his street life dropped to the floor in soft piles. Jerry stood behind him, arms folded, saying nothing, only nodding now and then. He knew this step mattered. Dignity feels different when you can see your own face. When the cut was done, Jerry said, Let's get clothes. They crossed to a small boutique next door. A kind sales lady helped them pick plain jeans, a white shirt, a simple belt, and clean sneakers. Nelson stepped out of the changing room like a new page in a notebook, still the same paper, but fresh and ready. Jerry smiled. Better, he said. Nelson looked at himself in the mirror again, then at Jerry. Words failed him. He settled for a soft, thank you. Don't thank me yet, Jerry replied. Work begins after we eat. They climbed back into the Rolls-Royce. The driver pulled away slowly. Outside, the city flowed yellow buses, shouting for passengers, hawkers lifting drinks, bright umbrellas guarding bowls of roasted corn. Nelson pressed his hands on his knees to stop them from shaking. He was sitting beside the man whose tools were on the news almost every week. Education apps, helping children learn faster. Tracking systems, helping police catch thieves and kidnappers. The same tracking systems that, maybe, could have helped his parents if they had existed back then. Tell me more, Jerry said. About your course, about your parents. Nelson swallowed. He looked down at his new shoes. They were kind people, he said. We had little, but we had peace. Then one night, men came. They took my parents. No calls. No notes, no faces. Only a black car and a smell of fuel. After that night, I stopped living. I just stood. Jerry's eyes were careful, full of respect. I'm sorry, he said. Losing family feels like falling through the ground. But listen to me. You are not standing anymore. You are moving. Nelson nodded, eyes wet. I want to move. I want to be strong. Good, Jerry said. We'll make a plan. Training, a test project, a mentor. You will work hard. No excuses. No excuses. Nelson repeated, voice steady now. They drove toward Lekki, the road opening like a bright ribbon ahead. The air conditioner hummed softly. For the first time in years, Nelson's chest felt light. Then the driver frowned at the rearview mirror. A dark SUV had slipped behind them, 2 cars back. Its windows were tinted deep. It kept the same distance, even when the Rolls-Royce changed lanes. The driver checked again. Still there. Jerry noticed the driver's eyes. Problem? Maybe nothing, sir, the driver said. But that black car has been with us since the barber shop. Nelson's head snapped up. His fingers tightened on his knees. His breathing changed faster, sharper. Jerry turned slightly toward him. You know that car? Nelson stared into the rear window, his face draining of color. His voice came out small but clear. I don't know the plate, he said. But the shape, the sound. It looks like the kind of car I saw the night my parents were taken. The driver's hands tightened on the wheel. Jerry pressed a button near his seat. The car's screen came alive with a map and a small blinking trail, the same kind of clean, simple tracking view he had designed for others. He kept his voice calm. "We'll find out who they are," he said. No panic. But Nelson wasn't looking at the screen. He was looking at the side mirror, where the dark SUV slid one lane closer, unblinking. The Rolls-Royce reached the next junction. The light turned yellow. The driver slowed. The black SUV did not. It surged forward, drawing level with them. Nelson's heart hammered. Jerry's eyes narrowed. The city noise faded again, thin and far away, like a radio in another room. The SUV's back window eased down a few inches. A gloved hand appeared, and then the window slid lower. A dark hand in a black glove clutched something long and metallic. Nelson's throat went dry. For a second, he couldn't breathe. "Down!" Jerry's sharp voice broke the silence. The driver swerved left just as a loud crack split the air. A bullet slammed into the Rolls-Royce's back glass. The armored shield absorbed it, but the sound rattled everyone inside. Nelson ducked low, his heart thundering. "Bulletproof," Jerry said calmly, though his eyes were cold steel now. "Stay down." The SUV roared beside them, its engine growling like a wild beast. The traffic ahead opened, horns blaring as cars scattered. Lagos streets became a chaos of screaming brakes and panicked pedestrians. The driver pressed hard on the accelerator, weaving through the mess. Nelson shook, clutching his knees. His mind spun back to that night, the black car, the sound of doors slamming, his parents' muffled cries. It was too familiar, too real. He whispered, "It's them. It has to be them." Jerry leaned forward, pressing the car's security console. A holographic map glowed, showing their route, and the SUV's signal locked behind them. Gentech's own tracking tech was watching the chase in real time. "Sir, should we call the police?" the driver asked. "No," Jerry answered quickly. "If they are who I think they are, they'll vanish before police arrive. We need to know what they want." Another crack. The SUV's window opened wider, a gun barrel flashing. The Rolls-Royce jolted as a tire screeched, but the armored plating held strong. Jerry's hand fell on Nelson's shoulder. "Listen to me," he said firmly, forcing Nelson's panicked eyes to meet his. "You are safe. Do you understand? Safe. You're with me." Tears burned Nelson's eyes, but he nodded. For the first time since his parents disappeared, someone's words cut through his fear. The SUV suddenly slowed, then swerved across lanes, blocking traffic. Tires screeched. Cars crashed into one another, horns screamed. The Rolls-Royce stopped hard. The black SUV door opened. 3 men stepped out, faces hidden under caps. The leader, tall and broad, walked toward Jerry's car with slow, certain steps. The crowd that had been watching scattered, leaving the road strangely empty. Nelson's pulse pounded in his ears. The man raised a gloved finger and pointed not at Jerry, but at Nelson. "You," he said through the open air. "We've been looking for you." Nelson's stomach dropped. His body froze in the seat. Jerry's eyes narrowed. "Why?" The man smirked. "Because he carries something his parents died protecting." Nelson's head snapped up, stunned. What are you talking about?" The leader tapped his chest. "Ask your new billionaire friend," he said. "He knows more than he admits." Jerry's face stayed still, but deep inside, a storm was rising. Nelson's breath caught. His eyes darted from the masked man back to Jerry. "What does he mean?" Nelson whispered, his voice breaking. Jerry's jaw tightened, but his face showed no panic. Instead, he calmly studied the men. "Stay inside," he told Nelson. The leader laughed harshly. "Stay inside? You think this car will protect him forever?" He tapped the SUV behind him. "We've been following him for weeks. The boy is carrying a key, a code, something his parents hid." Nelson's head spun. "A code? No, I don't have anything. My parents never..." But then he remembered. The night his parents disappeared, his mother had pressed a small flash drive into his palm before the black car's door slammed. He had hidden it, tucked inside the lining of his tattered coat, and forgotten. His body went cold. Could this be what they were after all these years? The man took another step forward. "Hand him over, Jerry Uche. Your money won't save him. This is bigger than you." The street was frozen in eerie silence. Even the horns had gone quiet, as if the city itself was holding its breath. Jerry leaned slightly toward Nelson and spoke in a low, steady voice. Listen to me carefully. Don't show them anything. Don't speak. Whatever they want, it belongs to you, not them. But Nelson began. No, Jerry cut him off. His eyes were sharp, commanding. You're stronger than you think. Stay still. The leader signaled. 2 men reached inside their SUV and pulled out iron bars, ready to smash the Rolls-Royce windows. Before they could move, Jerry tapped his console. The car doors locked with a heavy click, and a distress signal shot through Gentek's encrypted network. Somewhere in Lagos, alarms began to beep in a security control room. The leader scowled. So you want to play games? Jerry finally stepped out of the Rolls-Royce. His presence was calm, almost unnerving. You picked the wrong day, he said. The crowd of bystanders, who had been hiding behind street stalls, peeked out again. Whispers filled the air. That's Jerry Uche. He's standing against armed men. The leader sneered, but his eyes flickered with hesitation. Jerry's reputation wasn't just wealth, it was influence. Every tech system in Lagos, every traceable call, every stamped message could belong to him with a single command. Still, the man spat on the ground. This isn't over. He belongs to us. He jerked his hand, and the 3 men retreated quickly into the SUV. Within seconds, the black vehicle roared away, swallowed by the chaos of traffic. Jerry climbed back into the Rolls-Royce. Nelson sat frozen, his hands shaking. Why did they say that? What do I have? Jerry exhaled slowly. That's what we'll find out. He placed a firm hand on Nelson's shoulder. But one thing is certain, you are not going back to the street. Nelson blinked, his mind torn between fear and relief. His coat felt heavier than ever. Inside its lining, the forgotten flash drive burned like a hidden truth, waiting to explode. The Rolls-Royce glided silently into Jerry Uche's Lekki mansion. The guards at the gate stepped aside, saluting as the car eased through the tall black gates. But inside the car, silence pressed heavy, thicker than the Lagos evening air. Nelson sat stiffly, his fingers clutched at his coat as if it were the only anchor keeping him from floating away. Jerry's wife, Justina, and their daughter Amanda were already waiting at the front steps. Amanda's curious eyes widened when she saw Nelson step out in his fresh clothes, hair newly cut, face cleaner than it had been in years. To her, he didn't look like a beggar anymore. He looked like a broken story being written again. But Amanda's smile faded when she noticed the haunted fear in Nelson's eyes. Daddy, she asked. What happened? Jerry placed an arm around Nelson's shoulder, guiding him toward the house. Later, he said quietly. For now, let's get him inside. Inside the mansion, dinner was laid out: stew, jollof rice, fried plantain, roasted chicken. But Nelson barely touched his plate. He kept glancing at the windows, as if expecting the black SUV to smash through at any moment. Amanda, sitting across the table, leaned forward. You're safe here, she said softly. Her eyes, warm and steady, seemed to reach into him. Nelson gave a small nod, but his hand still trembled as he raised a spoon to his mouth. Jerry broke the silence. Nelson, he said, his tone calm but firm. Earlier today, those men mentioned your parents. They said you carry something they died protecting. Is there anything you haven't told me? Nelson froze. The spoon fell from his hand and clattered onto the plate. Slowly, his eyes lowered to his coat. His heart hammered in his chest. I think there is, he whispered. Amanda's brows furrowed. What do you mean? With trembling fingers, Nelson pulled at the torn lining of his old coat. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, from the hidden fold, a tiny object slid out onto the table. A flash drive. The family stared at it. Its casing was scratched and dented, but the metallic end gleamed faintly under the chandelier light. Jerry's expression tightened. He reached for it carefully, as though it were fragile glass. How long have you had this? Since the night they took my parents, Nelson replied, his voice low. My mother shoved it into my hand. She said, don't lose this, no matter what. I was too scared to ask why. I hid it and I forgot. Amanda gasped. And you've carried it all these years? Nelson nodded. His body shook with shame. Yes, but if those men were right, then my parents, they might have died because of this. Tears welled in his eyes. Justina reached across the table and gently touched his hand. No, my dear. They gave you that because they believed you would live to protect it. That's not a burden. It's a trust. Jerry turned the flash drive over in his palm, his mind racing. What data could be inside? Why would it be valuable enough to kill for? His instincts told him this wasn't just about money. It had to be bigger government secrets, stolen code, something that touched powerful people. Later that night, Jerry sat in his private office with Nelson and Amanda. His sleek black laptop hummed to life. Nelson's stomach churned. Every part of him screamed to throw the flash drive away, to burn it and never look back. But he also knew this was the only chance to understand why his life had shattered that night. Jerry slid the drive into the laptop. The screen blinked. A folder appeared, locked with a password. Not unusual, but this one wasn't an ordinary lock. It was encrypted with layers of code. Jerry frowned. Whoever built this knew what they were doing. This isn't random. Nelson's eyes widened. My father, he used to work with data encryption at the Ministry of Defense. He said he handled sensitive files sometimes. Jerry's brows arched. The pieces clicked. If this drive contained defense-level secrets, it explained everything: the kidnapping, the SUV, the men calling Nelson the key. Amanda leaned forward. Can we open it? Yes, Jerry replied. But it will take time, and once we do, whoever is after this will know. If they've been watching, they'll sense the activity. Nelson's hands tightened into fists. Then we need to be ready. Jerry gave him a long, searching look. Nelson's eyes, though scared, burned with resolve. The broken boy from the street was fading. In his place, a young man was standing raw, bruised, but willing to fight. All right, Jerry said. We start tomorrow, but tonight, you rest. Sleep didn't come easy for Nelson. The mansion's soft bed felt alien, too comfortable for someone who had slept on cold concrete for years. Every creak in the house made him jolt awake. Shadows on the wall twisted into black SUVs and faceless men. In the quiet hours past midnight, he slipped from his room and stepped out into the garden. The night air was cool, scented with flowers. He sat on the stone bench, staring up at the stars. Amanda found him there, wrapped in his thoughts. She walked over quietly and sat beside him. Can't sleep? She asked. Nelson shook his head. My parents, I see them every time I close my eyes. And now this flash drive. I don't even know what's inside. What if it's something that destroys me? Amanda's gaze softened. She placed her hand gently on his. Or, what if it's something that saves you? You've been surviving all this time, Nelson. Maybe this is the reason. Maybe this is why you're still here. Her words touched him deeper than she knew. For the first time, he allowed himself a small smile. Thank you, he whispered. Amanda smiled back, and for a moment, the danger outside the mansion felt far away. By morning, the house was alive again. Jerry's tech team arrived discreetly, trusted men sworn to secrecy. They brought specialized laptops, firewalls, and tools to crack open the encrypted drive without alerting outside trackers. Jerry called Nelson and Amanda into the office. Today, he said firmly, we find out the truth. Nelson's heart raced. He looked at the flash drive lying on the desk. That small object held the power to explain his pain or deepen it. The lead technician began typing. Codes danced across the screen. Firewalls opened and fell. Layers of encryption peeled away. The room was silent, except for the hum of machines and the pounding of Nelson's heart. Then suddenly, access granted. A single folder appeared, labeled only with one word. Project Redemption. The room held its breath. Jerry clicked it open. Lines of documents and encrypted blueprints filled the screen. Designs for advanced surveillance software, more powerful than anything Gentech had ever built. At the center was a strange file labeled Redemption, Key, EXE. Nelson's throat went dry. What is that? Jerry's eyes darkened. It's something dangerous. If this falls into the wrong hands, it could control every phone, every message, every life in Nigeria and beyond. Amanda gasped. And those men? They want it. Jerry nodded grimly. Yes, and now that we've unlocked it, they will come faster than ever. Nelson's blood ran cold. His parents had died to keep this secret safe. Now the burden was his. Suddenly, alarms blared through the mansion. The guards' voices echoed in panic. Intruders at the gate. Jerry's jaw clenched. Nelson's heart leapt. Amanda grabbed his arm. The black SUV had returned, and this time they weren't alone. The mansion's alarm screamed, red lights flashing across the hallways. Nelson's chest tightened as guards rushed past the glass doors with rifles raised. Outside, headlights cut through the dawn haze, 3 SUVs, not one. Black, tinted, men spilling out like shadows, with weapons glinting under the early sun. Jerry stood firm in his office, staring at the security monitors. "They've come for the drive," he said, his voice steady. "And this time, they won't leave without a fight." Amanda clutched Nelson's arm. "What do we do?" Nelson's palms were slick, but something inside him had shifted. Fear was still there. Yes, but stronger was the fire to protect what his parents had died for. He looked at Jerry. "Let me help." Jerry studied him for a heartbeat, then gave a sharp nod. "Good. Follow my lead." The first SUV rammed the gates, metal screeching. Sparks flew as the heavy steel bent inward. The guards fired, but the attackers advanced in waves. Shouts echoed across the compound. "Move them inside," one guard yelled. Jerry turned to Amanda and Justina. "Go to the safe room, now." Amanda's eyes widened. "But Daddy," "No arguments," Jerry barked, his rare sternness slicing through the chaos. Amanda obeyed, though she squeezed Nelson's hand as she left, whispering, "Come back alive." The words struck deep. Nelson swallowed hard and turned back to Jerry. Jerry tapped his wristwatch, a sleek Gentech prototype. Immediately, the mansion's reinforced shutters clamped down on windows and doors. Steel barriers descended over the main entrances, but the attackers were prepared. Explosives cracked against the gates, blowing them wide open. Dust and smoke swallowed the driveway as masked men poured inside. "Nelson, the flash drive," Jerry ordered. Nelson grabbed it from the desk. His hands shook, but he tucked it safely into his pocket. Jerry's eyes burned into his. "Whatever happens, don't let it go. Promise me." "I promise," Nelson said. The leader from before stormed through the front door, smoke curling behind him. His men spread out like wolves circling prey. His eyes locked on Nelson immediately. "There you are," he sneered. "The boy who carries our future." Jerry stepped forward, blocking Nelson. "Not your future. His." The man smirked. "Do you really think you can stop us, Uche? Money won't shield you from what's coming." He raised his gun. For a heartbeat, the air froze. Nelson's mind screamed with terror. He had never faced death so directly. But then he remembered Amanda's words in the garden. What if it's something that saves you? Something snapped inside him. He stepped forward, voice shaking but loud. "You killed my parents for this drive. You tried to break me. But I won't let you win. Not today." The leader laughed, mocking. "You? A street beggar?" Nelson's chin lifted. "Not anymore." Suddenly, the monitors on Jerry's wall flickered. The files from the flash drive had been activated remotely. Lines of code danced across the screen. Jerry's system spoke aloud in its robotic voice. "Redemption. Key. XX. Initializing." The leader's grin widened. "Yes, it's waking up. Hand it over." Jerry's hands flew over the keyboard, trying to override. But the encryption was unique, something even he hadn't seen before. He glanced at Nelson. "It's reacting to you." Nelson's eyes widened. "To me?" Jerry nodded. "Your parents must have coded your identity into it. Biometric keys. You are the lock and the key." The leader lunged forward, gun raised. But before he could fire, a sharp crack split the air. One of Jerry's guards shot the weapon out of his hand. Chaos erupted. Gunfire thundered. Smoke filled the mansion, attackers and guards clashing in violent waves. In the madness, Nelson stumbled toward Jerry's desk. The screen blinked. "Authenticate user?" His reflection stared back at him, frightened but determined. His hands trembled as he placed his fingerprint on the scanner. The system beeped. "Identity confirmed." A hidden folder opened. Inside were not just codes but a message. Nelson's breath caught as he read the recorded video that flickered to life. It was his parents. "Nelson," his mother's voice said through tears, "if you are seeing this, we are gone. This drive carries a program that can protect Nigeria's data from criminals. Many want to steal it, to use it for evil. But it belongs to the people. To you. Guard it well, my son. One day, you'll know what to do." Nelson's knees nearly buckled. His parents hadn't died for nothing. They had trusted him. Victory in the storm. Fueled by fresh strength, Nelson shouted to Jerry, "It's not a weapon, it's protection." Jerry caught on instantly. "Upload it to our secure servers. Lock them out." Nelson typed furiously, his once-forgotten skills rushing back as if they had waited for this very moment. The attackers tried to storm the office, but Jerry's guards held them back. Bullets cracked glass, shouts shook the walls, but Nelson's fingers didn't stop. Finally, the system flashed green. Upload complete. Encryption locked. The drive went dead. The leader's scream of rage filled the mansion as his men began to retreat, realizing their mission had failed. One by one, the SUVs roared back to life and tore away from the compound, leaving behind smoke, shattered glass, and silence. Nelson collapsed into the chair, tears streaming down his face. Jerry placed a strong hand on his shoulder. "You did it," he said softly. "Your parents would be proud." Amanda burst into the room, rushing to Nelson's side. She hugged him tightly, whispering, "I knew you'd come back alive." For the first time in years, Nelson allowed himself to believe it. He was no longer just a beggar. He was a survivor, a fighter, and now, a man carrying his parents' legacy. As Jerry looked at Nelson and Amanda together, pride and relief filled his heart. His single act of kindness had sparked something greater than he could have imagined. But deep inside, Jerry knew this was not the end. Enemies would return. The code called redemption had only just begun its story. If you like this story, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.